Apple is about to shake things up again, but not in the way you'd expect. Instead of sticking to its usual formula, the iPhone 17 lineup is getting a brand new family member, the iPhone 17 Air. And it's not just a slimmer version, it's shaping up to be Apple's thinnest phone ever, with some surprising trade-offs. So why does this matter? Well, Apple has been searching for that perfect middle ground ever since the Mini and Plus models didn't really take off. The Air seems to be their new attempt at striking a balance, something big enough to feel modern, but light and sleek enough to stand out. It's a risky move, but it could redefine how Apple approaches its non-Pro lineup. Now let's break it down across the board, because all four iPhone 17 models bring meaningful changes. The regular iPhone 17 finally steps up with something fans have been begging for since 2021, a 120 Hz ProMotion display. That's right, the smooth scrolling and high refresh rate that's been locked behind the Pro paywall is finally coming to the standard model. Pair that with a slightly larger 6.3-inch screen and slimmer bezels, and it's clear Apple is finally giving the base model some premium love. Another big shift is in the camera department. For the first time since the iPhone 11, Apple is upgrading the selfie camera. We're moving from 12 megapixels to 24 megapixels across the entire lineup. That's a huge jump, and it should make a noticeable difference not only for photos, but also for video calls and social media content. Performance-wise, we're looking at 12 gigabytes of RAM across all models, which should better handle Apple Intelligence features and heavier multitasking. Charging is also expected to get faster, with Apple reportedly moving up to 45 watts using the new Qi 2.2 wireless standard. If true, that's almost double the speed of current iPhones, finally bringing Apple closer to what Android has been offering for years. Now, the iPhone 17 Air is where things get really interesting. At just 5.4 millimeters thick, this could be the thinnest iPhone Apple ever made, thinner than even the iPod Touch at its thinnest. But here's the catch. The battery might only be 2,800 milliamp hours, which is much smaller than what we see in most flagships today. Apple must be counting on chip efficiency and software optimization to keep it competitive, but real-world endurance could be a concern. The Air also looks like it'll have just a single 48-megapixel rear camera instead of the usual dual setup. That's a step back in flexibility, but it keeps the design lean. Interestingly, Apple seems to be giving the Air some unique hardware, like a titanium frame and its new C1 modem, which could make it a connectivity champion despite its size. And don't forget, it still gets the new 24-megapixel selfie camera and the A19 chip, so performance won't be an issue. Then we have the Pros, which, as always, get the most dramatic upgrades. The new design features a massive camera island stretching nearly edge to edge, signaling some serious hardware changes. The big highlight is the telephoto lens, which could jump to 48 megapixels with a periscope setup, allowing for up to 10x optical zoom. That would be Apple's biggest leap in zoom technology ever, finally putting it on par with Samsung and Google in that department. Video creators also have something to be excited about. 8K video recording might finally make its debut. Combine that with improved low-light photography, and it's clear Apple wants to keep the Pro models the go-to choice for creators. Durability is also getting attention. Apple may roll out a tougher display with an anti-reflective coating, something that reduces glare, boosts scratch resistance, and should make the phones more usable outdoors. Add in a new cooling system on the Pro Max with a vapor chamber and graphite sheet, and it's obvious Apple is thinking about sustained performance under heavy AI or gaming loads. So what's the big takeaway here? The iPhone 17 lineup feels like Apple is spreading out its bets. The standard iPhone finally feels premium, the Air experiments with thinness and portability, and the Pros push into serious photography, videography, and performance territory. Each model now has a clearer identity, which is something Apple hasn't nailed in years. Personally, I think the Air is the wild card here. If the battery holds up, it could be a dream phone for people who miss ultra-thin devices but still want modern power. But if the small battery disappoints, it could easily end up as another Mini or Plus story. Interesting on paper, but not quite what people actually want. Either way, September 9th is going to be one of Apple's most important iPhone launches in a long time, because this lineup feels like Apple is spreading out their bets. The standard iPhone finally feels premium, the Air experiments with thinness and portability, and the Pros push into serious photography, videography, and performance territory. Each model now has a clearer identity, which is something Apple hasn't nailed in years. Personally, I think the Air is the wild card here. If the battery holds up, it could be a dream phone for people who miss ultra-thin devices but still want modern power. But if the small battery disappoints, it could easily end up as another Mini or Plus story. Interesting on paper, but not quite what people actually want. What's your thoughts on this? Let me know in the comments section. See you in the next video. Take care.